I'm going to tell you something I never imagined possible. Being a skeptical person that never believed in the supernatural, or whatever creatures that supposedly exist out there. This story happened during my late 20s, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a Friday night during a session of browsing and chatting on the internet with my online friends. Because I lived in the suburbs, it's common for me to spend more time at home. Also, because nothing exciting happens in my neighborhood, or so I thought till that day. Like I was saying, it was a Friday night and I was on my laptop when I started listening to noises coming from trash cans directly under my window, between the fence and the side of my house. I usually don't pay attention to this because there is a forest area behind my house, so it's common for raccoons to come close to the houses and mess up garbage cans. But the noise was already annoying me and was getting louder, so I went downstairs to scare the raccoons away. When I reached the kitchen, I peeked through the window to the trash cans, and as I thought, there was trash on the ground and one of the cans was laying sideways. I got angry now because I had to go outside and pick up the trash before any more raccoons would come and make an even bigger mess. I got closer to the back door and opened it. As soon as I put my eyes in the backyard, my body froze. The first thing I saw, behind the bushes, was a tall figure that was too big to be a man. Also, the silhouette didn't look like one. Shocked, I kept looking at the figure, and with time my vision started adapting to the darkness, and I could start to really see what was in front of me. It had a muscled body and the head that looked like a dog. In a matter of seconds, the creature's eyes locked on me and it began to growl. This is when I managed to close the door and moved away, but I kept my eyes on the door. A few seconds passed and I could hear the steps of the creature walking in the door's direction. When it reached the door, the growling stopped, but another chilling sound started. The sound of claws scratching on the door. I will never forget that sound. I slowly walked to the corner of my living room, not knowing what to do but just trying to stay hidden. That's when I listened to the creature moving around the house, going towards the side, near the kitchen window. I was terrified, but I needed to see that thing again. So I locked my eyes on the kitchen window, and that's when I saw it again. It stopped in front of the window, growling and looking around, like it was hunting me. In a moment of sheer panic, I ran upstairs to my bedroom, locked everything and closed myself in the closet. The situation felt like a nightmare. I wasn't capable of rational thought and couldn't even think of calling 911. But then again, what was I going to say? No one would ever believe me. I cried myself to sleep inside that closet. The only time I had courage to come out was in the morning. Fortunately, the creature was already gone, but it left the back door with a few scratch marks. I researched online and it looks like I had an encounter with the dogman. There are a few witnesses that had similar encounters with the creature looking like this one. One thing is for sure, it made me a believer.
I destroyed my favorite childhood doll when I saw it moving on its own and carrying a knife. I regretted my decision when I found out it was only protecting me from the thing that lives under my bed.
I've been working at this new classified location for 2 weeks now. When I say classified, I mean every piece of information surrounding the exact location of this place is unknown to the workers or the scientists. There are two distinct groups here, the ones I mentioned before. I'm one of the workers. We don't have names, just numbers, and our job is to do maintenance around the facilities and install machinery throughout the buildings. Scientists are here to analyze data. We have no idea what it is that we're studying down here, but everyone always seems on edge. There are rumors that a few of the workers have gone missing, and that's why they needed a new team. Honestly, I don't know what to believe. I mean, this place gives me the chills, but I haven't seen anything down here yet. Only empty corridors that all look and smell the same. 2 weeks of this, but today was a different day. Today I found something else. I was carrying some new equipment to assemble in a new area that had been found. Number 56, another worker, was helping me carry the equipment. As we arrived, I saw a passage that I had never seen before, and I was sure that we had passed here multiple times. Anyway, I wasn't paid to think, so we carried on. As we approached, me and 56 saw a passageway that looked like we were going outside. What I mean is that we could see buildings in front of us with windows, and it looked like they were outside. But for some reason, the building had no door and the windows looked weird. They were asymmetrical and in different sizes. Also, the sky, it looked flat, and the stars looked like they were painted. There were a few trees as well, and a street made of concrete. That was real. Without much conversation, we carried the equipment to the designated area that was marked by orange markers on the ground. This was common protocol. While I was mounting the instruments, 56 started to hear the voice of someone asking for help. I told him that's strange because there's no other team out here right now. But yes, he was right. I could hear someone asking for help. We tried to pinpoint the location, and it came from a small building, similar to a suburban house on the other side of the street. There was no way we could ignore this plea for help, so we investigated. The closer we got to the door, the louder the sound became. It was very clear now. Someone was inside asking for help. And my first thought was of the missing team. Were the rumors true? I guess we were about to find out. When we entered the house, it completely surprised me because there was a massive hallway that didn't look to have an end. It just led to darkness. The plea for help was coming from the end of the hallway, so we walked towards it. Until we were completely surrounded by darkness. It felt like it would never end, but we could hear the man. It was the man screaming and begging for help. We rushed forward to get to him faster, and finally, we saw a corner. The hallway had an ending after all. 56 was the first to turn the corner, but as soon as he did, a hand from the left side grabbed him from the helmet and pushed him to the side, disappearing through the corner. I entered a panic state and my first thought was running. So that's what I did. I ran through that dark and empty hallway without looking back. That's when I heard footsteps. Something or someone was chasing me. Was it 56 or whatever had grabbed him? I needed to know. So I looked back. And to my terror, it wasn't 56. It was something else. Something with long, thin, and slimy limbs. The head was weirdly shaped, but I didn't have a lot of time to understand it. Running was my only focus now. I kept running until I found the door leading to the street. After that, I ran to the passageway leading to the inside corridors that we passed every day. After a few minutes, I was near the main base of operations. I was debriefed by the scientists several times and was placed under psychological care with one of our therapists. I tried to leave this place on my own, but they didn't want to let me go easily. They said we are a vital part of the project. Honestly, I don't think they'll ever let us leave this place.
I'm enjoying a deserved break in the teacher's lounge. Today is Friday, so we are all waiting for the final bell in order to go home and enjoy the weekend. Unfortunately, we still have a few hours of class in front of us, and something else is about to happen that will change my life forever. As everyone is enjoying their free time before the next lessons, the school fire alarm starts ringing. We are all caught by surprise, and we are pretty much looking at each other waiting for someone to tell us what to do. We know we need to evacuate, but the alarm came so unexpectedly. A few seconds have passed and we hear the dean speaking in the comm. He tells everyone to stay locked inside the classrooms until further notice. Which is weird because we heard the fire alarm, and he is asking us to stay inside instead of evacuating the building, which is mandatory protocol. We locked ourselves inside the teacher's lounge and we waited for new instructions. The situation got much worse when we started hearing a noise coming from the outside corridor. It sounded like someone was hitting the lockers with something. The noise was also getting closer. The door had a glass in the middle which allowed us to see who was outside, so we all kept our eyes on it, waiting to see who was making the noise. I still remember that moment. It felt like it was taking forever to pass. The noise was over now, and we were all on edge waiting to see who was there. Slowly, a tall figure appeared on the other side of the door. It was holding a machete and had stopped in front of the glass. Slowly, he turned his head to us and we could see his face more clearly. He had the most disturbing smile I'd ever seen in my life. His hair was a mess and his face was all scarred. He just stands there looking at us and showing his machete. We were all in a state of panic, unable to move. One moment we were all having a good time together. In the other, some random guy entered the school with a machete. Something I forgot to mention was that machete was already covered in blood, which means he had already used it on someone. By some miracle, we listened to cops screaming in the hallway at the man. In a matter of seconds, they put the suspect on the ground and took him away. Finally, the alarm stopped ringing and we were taken to safety. Turns out the suspect had stabbed another teacher for unknown reasons. It's scary to think it could have been me being stabbed. Fortunately, the other teacher recovered from his wounds and no one else got injured. Not physically at least. Mentally, I am scarred for life.
This happened when I was 7 years old. I was a very timid girl back then, and the events that transpired that day have stuck with me ever since. I was staying over at a friend's house one Saturday afternoon, and we were both sitting on a couch watching cartoons. For the sake of the story, we'll call my friend Kate. Kate was 2 years older than me, but she could be best described as a tomboy. Unlike me, she was tough and didn't hesitate to beat up any boy at school for saying mean things behind her back. At times, I had a tendency to do whatever Kate told me to, even if I didn't want to do it. Anyway, after watching cartoons for a while, I got hungry, so I left the couch and went into the kitchen to grab a snack. The kitchen was small and had a door which led straight to the backyard, and below it was a little doggy door. Kate no longer had a dog, but the door wasn't removed for some reason. As soon as I stepped into the kitchen doorway, my eyes zeroed in on the doggy door and I froze. To my absolute horror, a grown man with long brown hair was poking his head inside, just the top of his head as he was looking up at the doorknob, probably trying to see if he could reach it. I quickly and quietly ran around the corner to hide. Thankfully, he didn't see me, as he was much too busy trying to squeeze his arm through the door. Kate's parents were out shopping at the time, so we were both home alone with this guy trying to break in. And it was here that I made my first mistake. Instead of calling the police, I ran back into the living room where Kate was and told her about the man. She thought I was joking, so I grabbed her by the hand and pulled her off the couch, then led her back into the kitchen so she can see the man for herself. Sure enough, he was still there. His face was still obscured, as he was looking up at the doorknob, but this time, he had his whole arm inside the doggy door and tried reaching for the knob. Kate let out a soft whimper before quickly pulling her hand over her mouth. It was the first time I saw her look so scared, but when she looked back at me, her fear seemingly went away. She then placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder and put her finger on her lips to keep me quiet. "Don't worry, we're gonna teach that creep a lesson he won't ever forget," she said with a smug grin. I wasn't sure what she was planning. We were two scrawny little girls dressed in tank tops and shorts. Not exactly the picture of intimidation, but like an idiot, I agreed to go along with whatever she was up to. "Okay," I said. "Great. We're gonna have to sneak up on this guy. So do what I do and follow me. And be quiet," she said before walking into the kitchen with me close behind. Even though we tried our best to be stealthy, our feet squeaked loudly across the floor with every step we took. Kate's mom must have cleaned the floor recently, and since me and Kate were both barefoot, the squeaking was twice as loud. We stopped and looked at each other nervously for a moment, thinking we were done for. But fortunately, the man's constant fumbling with the locked door blocked out any squeaks we made. By sheer dumb luck, he hasn't alerted to our presence, even though our footsteps were as loud as an incoming freight train. My heart raced as we continued walking forward, getting closer and closer to the intruder. The man hadn't noticed us yet, but he yanked his head and arm out after seemingly giving up and reaching for the knob. Kate sighed in disappointment, but figured he'd be back to try again. She then sat down in front of the doggy door while I sat beside her. "As soon as he pokes his head in, we're going to kick him as hard as we can," Kate snickered as she raised both her feet off the floor and bent her knees back, preparing them for a kick. I did the same, and we both just stayed in that position, waiting for the man to return. No more than 20 seconds passed before the doggy door flap opened again, and the man popped his head in, this time giving us a good look at his face. But we didn't kick. We just sat there, frozen, eyes wide with fear, as we tried to comprehend what we were looking at. His face. My God. His face looked like it had all of its skin ripped off, leaving only exposed muscle. The top of his head looked normal enough with brown hair, but his face was gone. This is not a face we were expecting to see. Looking back, I'm not sure if his skin was actually gone, or if he just had a detailed tattoo my 7-year-old brain believed to be real. If it was a tattoo, then damn, it was a good one. The exposed muscles and sinews around his cheekbones looked so lifelike that it left both me and my friend petrified. The man himself was also surprised when he saw us for the first time. He glanced between the two of us, completely speechless. And why wouldn't he be? He wasn't expecting to find two little girls waiting for him on the other side of the doggy door, with their bare feet raised in the air ready to strike mere inches from his face. This entire situation was so surreal. After a minute of awkward silence, as we just looked at each other, the man finally smiled at us. And when he did, me and my friend began to quake in fear. As if this guy couldn't get any weirder, his mouth was full of razor-sharp teeth. almost as if he was a monster straight out of a horror movie. Then, without warning, he lunged his head forward, mouth open wide like he was ready to bite. Me and Kate screamed as we fell flat on our back, yanking our feet away from the man's teeth, just as they snapped shut. He missed us by mere millimeters, and we weren't about to stick around to see if he could try again. I quickly scrambled to my feet and bolted out of the kitchen. Kate, however, took a little longer to get up, and the man was able to grab her ankle, making her fall to the floor. Looking over my shoulder, I could see Kate screaming as she was being dragged towards the man, who once again had his mouth wide open, ready to take a bite. Kate started kicking the man's face with her other foot, making him let go for a moment, only for then grabbed by her other foot. I raced back into the kitchen, grabbed a few apples which they had been sitting on a nearby table, and started throwing them at the man. The man groaned in annoyance as he let my friend go and scrambled out the doggy door. We could hear his frantic footsteps fading away as he finally left our house. I guess he didn't think breaking in was worth getting pelted by apples. We never told Kate's parents about what happened. I mean, what would we even tell them? A man with no skin on his face and a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth tried to break in and nearly bite off our toes when we confronted him. Her parents would think we were crazy. I don't know if that guy was ever caught, but I hope he never tried this with anyone else. I'll probably never forget that face for as long as I live.